Hello, everybody. Scotland has got the sun. It's got the sun, and it's a big deal. So you got to make the most of that because you'll get 2 weeks of summer in Scotland, and then it's perpetual darkness for the rest of the year. We do have long days, but they're usually long, wet, dreich days. However, they have been especially nice, and that's where you realise that living in Scotland is a type of psychic torture. Some people like and prefer the damp and the cold, but human beings are exotic creatures. We're equatorial. We like the sunshine unless you're, you know, unless you're one of them. Others, if you're Scandinavian, Highland Scot, you might prefer the cold and the dark. But I don't, and I realize I don't. I like the sun, but it does punish me. It does punish me. Now, speaking of punishment from nature, does anyone know what the most ubiquitous weapon is in nature? The most common weapon in nature. This is something I was musing on the other day. Um, Let me just share a tab with you. Have a little gander at this over here. Um, Pow. There we go. That's a fish. It's called the cowfish. And you can see its little horns, little protrudences. And then what else has a horn? Well, we jump over here and we can see certain insects. It's like a triceratops, right? Dinosaurs, for example. That's another one. But there you go. It's got this configuration here. And then if we jump over here, a classic horned animal. So this is a mammal. So we've had fish. Fish isn't technically a kind of animal. Fish is more a collective. Apparently, the genetic space between species of fish can be more vast than land mammals. It's kind of more in common with fish than fish do with other fish, apparently, if you can follow my riddles. So fish, insects, dinosaurs, mammals, and even avians, even if we go over here to the birds, have this horn. And you might think to yourself, well, that's quite interesting. Why? Why do all these creatures possess a horn? And you could have an explanation. It's for protection. It's to put on a display for mating. But there's other deeper questions. There's depths to why. Why? You keep asking why, and you see how deep you can go. And the answer can take you to a place of energy conservation, and the horn might just be something that's a bit easier to produce in nature. That's why these creatures don't all have flamethrowers, right? They have horns because that's it's a little easier to produce in nature. Let me just see if I can fix that blur for us here. It's going to hit this up. My settings, definition, pow. There we go. And smack it back up there. So that kind of got me thinking, like, why is that? Why do insects, fish, mammals, all these things have a horn? And it got me thinking, not just about the horns, but also about politics as well. And we've just had a new pope. We're going to talk about the new pope, and that's quite a political office, right? So the musing I had today was that controversy sells. The horn is nature's weapon of choice, and it's emerged across various species through a process of force, finding direction through asymmetry. And I like that idea. I like that turn of phrase, force finding direction. through asymmetry. There's something, a little nodule, a little bump, little haphazard bump, the story goes in mainstream science. And that little haphazard bump has certain benefits through just having happened. Maybe there's a bump here, a bump there, a bump there. That one didn't do so well. There's another with a little bump here. That's quite good. It mates, and then through successive reproduction, that little bump grows into a horn. And the same thing happens with ideas like futurism. Futurism is very much the horn of Christianity, right? Trinitarianism, that's another horn on Christianity. Eternal conscious torment, there's another horn, probably the biggest horn weapon in Christianity. And that's one that can inflict much psychic torture, much like a Scottish winter. But yeah, force finding direction through asymmetry. And then, a couple of weeks ago, I was musing on political ideas and how they can become juggernauts without brakes. Your big 18 wheelers, just one of them riding without brakes. And, you can be the one who leads the cause. You can be the one in the driver's seat. But if you try to pivot in response to nuance, that is to say, if you find some new information that leads you to question the assumptions that you had, that led you to step out in confidence, then you might find that you have gained too much momentum and you will not be allowed to stop. Or the movement will just have no regard for your renewed perspective. And this is what happens with people like Don Preston, people who have ministries, lead in their ministry, and then come before their congregation and say something a little different. It happened to Peter Panagore as well, up there in Maine. I say up there in Maine. It's not up there, it's over there. Over the way, that way, technically. Over that. That's what Ireland is. You go past Ireland, you skim past Greenland and Iceland, and then you touch Maine. He had a near-death experience, and it opened his mind. And when he expressed and intimated the thoughts and the feelings and the experiences that he had, a lot of people would think, oh, that's not this type of Christianity. And then, having been a leader at one point, that does not afford you any protection from the horns of Christianity. What did you just say? Did you just veer off the beaten track? How dare you? Don't you know you're going to hell for that? There's the horn, right? There it is. Hey, don't you worry. I've got a point. I'm not just sitting here musing on horns, right? I'm going to tie a neat little bow on this thing. I did the Great News Network conference, and I was very happy to share a stage with so many wonderful voices in this new movement. Whatever you want to call it. You could call it the movement of Yeshuans. You could call it the victorious eschatology movement. Whatever you call it, it was wonderful to participate in that. And the big personality, well, there's lots of big personalities, but the man in Salt Lake City is a guy called Sean McCraney. You might know him from Heart of the Matter here on YouTube. And I find him very charismatic. I find him very likable. And one of the qualities that he has is a certain frankness of expression. And he won't shy away from using colourful language. And what I will say is that's very typical here in Scotland, and of course in Australia. Um, Now I'm aware that sometimes younger people might watch my videos, and so I won't swear as much in front of a young audience, but very most of us are of an age where it shouldn't be too offensive. But the point I want to make there is I don't think you should be offended by language. I understand the Christian notion of being a gentleman, etc. However, a lot of the people that you want to reach with Christianity do not conduct themselves like your grandparents, right? They just don't do that. They're not nice, fine, southern gentlemen, right? That's just not who they are. You know, they're rapscallions, okay? They're people who every second word is a swear word. And if you find that challenging, then I don't know what it is you think you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, why are you so coddled? Why are you so turned off by sweary words? Right? And I want to challenge you. You might have a good explanation. You might have a good answer. You might say, well, I'm trying to refine my soul. You know, I'm trying to walk in a way that, you know, speaks to the refreshing and the renewing of my being and the renewal of my mind. And there's no place there for a swear word. And you know what I've got to say to that? I ain't got but 2 words for you. Only joking. But I want to swear. I want to swear, but you won't let me. You won't let me. I know what else you're thinking. You're thinking, William, why are you speaking into a duck? What's happened to this channel? The time is coming. The time is near. Lo, the time is near when William will speak into a professional grade microphone. The hour is coming and now is when William will not be speaking into a duck no longer. He will be speaking into a professional microphone. But guys, until that time comes, you should be mindful and watchful for the signs of the time. Now is the election of Pope, what was his name? Leo the 14th, a sign of the time? We're about to find out. We're about to find out. And everybody watching this video probably thinks, no, obviously not. Why are you trying to pretend this is some exciting thing that you're going to reveal? Bear with me, right? Bear with me. We're just hanging out. We're just having some fun. But guys, the title of this video is controversy, right? I want to swear, guys. I want to swear. See, the thing is, I don't want to just start cussing like a sailor, but I want to use a tasteful. I don't know. There's a weight and a gravity to a swear word because we categorize it as the swear word, right? It's seen as this unpleasant, vulgar thing, but that's what gives it a bit of originality and a bit of surprise. Everyone will be aware of having went to a high school, and at one point there was a cool teacher, right? Now this can obviously be a bit cringe, right? It can be a bit, ugh, right? If a teacher swears just to try and get over in the class, right, to become popular, and because that happened in high school, we had a substitute teacher come in and we're studying English, and he's like, "Hey guys, listen, if you don't know how to spell great right now, don't even worry about it. Shit, you know, I didn't even learn until I was like 20." And then we're like, "Oh my goodness, did you just hear that? He just dropped the S bomb." That's not why I want to swear. That's not what I want to do, right? Because I don't like that either, right? But what I'm saying is, if you do swear, if you do pepper in a little language like that, I would ask, I would try and advise you that that can sometimes speak to an audience that's unpretentious. Because if you police your language very strictly, that can give off a certain pretension, right? Like an academic discourse, you would be advised not to swear in academic discourse, right? It depends on the discipline. I would imagine that there's a lot of swearing, not a lot of swearing, but tasteful uh, utility in certain powerful language in the social sciences. Obviously, if you're doing a biology paper on the mating habits of jellyfish, it would be weird if you just started dropping the C bomb and stuff, you know? That's not gonna fly. There's no reason to swear when you're talking about the mating habits of mooned and barrel jellyfish. But if you're writing a social science paper on the working class of Foxbar Paisley, then you might include that in a what do you call it when you analyze a transcript and you look for a particular language, right? You might conduct a something analysis, a thematic analysis, right? And so curse words might be a corollary of something, you know? I've sometimes seen on social media people posting memes that swearing is a sign of intelligence. I don't believe that. I don't believe anything where people say this is a sign of intelligence. Right? Or voting Democrat is a sign of intelligence. I don't think that flies. I don't know how they're measuring intelligence there. Usually they're just saying people with most degrees uh, do this, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are the smartest people, you know? Did you know that Einstein didn't have a PhD? Yeah, that's weird, right? You'd think Albert Einstein had a PhD. He didn't. And he's not alone. A lot of the great physicists did not have, well, they had semi advanced, but not tippy top expert level uh, academic accolades. So I'm going to do it, guys, right? I'm going to do it. I'm going to lose all my subscribers, but it's in the script. But listen to the words. Don't fret. Listen to the words. Telling someone to fuck off is a very effective way to generate controversy or to stimulate asymmetry, right? So I've already discussed the emergence of the horn. Okay, the emergence of the horn is force finding direction through asymmetry, right? Force finding direction through asymmetry, and that's the way. That's the odd texture of hearing me swear, right? Because you might think that's what are you swearing for? Why would you do that? Well, I'm not doing it because I want to do it necessarily. I think it has a place in colloquial working class discourse in Scotland and in Australia, and I think as well in America, right? But I don't think people should swear necessarily, but I don't mind it, and I think it does have a place in ministry. But you notice what it does, right? It creates that asymmetry. There's a little ruffle going on, a ruffling of feathers. Telling someone to fuck off is a very effective way to generate controversy or stimulate asymmetry. There are very obvious sides to fucking off. There's the fuck off E, which is like the employer. No, wait, that's the fuck off E would be the person that fucks off, and the fuck off there is like the employer, right? They're the one that tell you to fuck off. So there's two differences that you can be on this side, which is the side saying fuck off, or you can be on the other side being told to fuck off. Okay? This is a weird sermon. This is a weird sermon. Oh my god, what am I doing? This is this is actually very funny. Stay with me. Stay with you gotta stay with me on this one. Because that's why this is powerful. It's called controversy, guys. Please trust me. Trust me. I am gonna stick the landing. I'm gonna stick the landing. I know you're thinking, what is going on? Has he lost it? Is he suffering heat stroke? I'm gonna stick the landing. Okay. I realize that I'm cursing and speaking to a duck. I'm gonna stick the landing. I'm gonna land 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Right? let's continue. There's drama in that. There's tribalism in that. All right. But it does often get out of control. It can get out of control. And as you'll see in the picture that I put up for this video, it's a very strange animal, that one, isn't it? I forget its name. It has these tusks, and then it has horns that come up. And rams and goats and cows and deers can all be maimed and indeed killed by their own horns because they turn inward and pierce the skull or damage the eye. And so you can suffer injury from your own horns, right? So that's certainly a faux pas that can come about through swearing. And I think that's where the criticism would come, that if you do swear, you can turn people off. But what I would say is, if you're the kind of person that gets turned off by swearing, then you're the kind of person, paradoxically, who should not be turned off by swearing. You should understand then, if you're seeking righteousness and see clean language as a tenant of righteousness, that some people do indeed swear, and not every single voice is going to appeal to every single person. It might take a rougher personality to appeal to the working classes or to a particular town or subculture, in which case it's important that you've got people who are a little bit more rough and ready and rugged in their character, because that's going to appeal, that's going to be the voice that goes to them, you know? And Paul the Apostle, people make people make something of that. You know, Paul the Apostle wasn't one who carefully parsed his language so as to avoid controversy, so as to avoid insult. You know, he famously, I believe it's true. This is one of these things that you hear's true and then later on it's disproved. But didn't Paul make reference to the bloody rags, bloody menstrual rags, and compared that to people's works? I mean, that's quite crass, isn't it? And who knows how rough that sounded in the original language and the original context. Um, so, you know, there's something to be said for rough language. It has a place. I wouldn't always advise it though. Um, but that's the thing about the horn. It can go both ways, I suppose. That's where we get to with the analysis. It can go both ways. And I guess that's the ultimate point, isn't it? To retain nuance, um, to establish peace with who you are, to refine yourself certainly, and to know what you're not. Obviously, with the exception of moral evil, we shouldn't be trying to make peace with moral evil. But there is difference that is not evil. You know, people can have different characteristics, and just because there's a difference between them, it doesn't mean that someone's more righteous and someone's less righteous, right? So if you take someone who's a bit more armity, you know, speaks like a sailor, swears like a sailor, but is a lovely person full of charity and good deeds and has a heart for God, and you have someone else who would never swear and also does their charity and conducts themselves and presents themselves very well and always wears a three-piece suit, you know, and their hair is always combed nicely and they're well groomed, etc. You know, these two people are not in competition. They do not have to be in competition with one another. They can both be saints, just with different missions, different voices. Right. And I'd say that's the thing. most people are good and lovely, and there's about 2.5 to about 6% of people who are psychopaths in society. So in your state, in your town, there's about what 3% of that population's going to be like a psychopath, which means they're going to lack a conscience. Um, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Well, let's discuss it. Oh, I'm so blurry, man. I'm so blurry. I've just been bloody and swearing and let's see if I can fix that. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why it's going all bloody for us. Let's check in with the chat. Lady Simple, good to see ya. No, I don't know about leaving arms in this country. You know, they'll get cold. Oh yeah, unicorns, famous, famous. Oh yeah, got a name drop, Peter. Scott says the last Pope prophecy failed. Yep, they're not very good with those. Daniel says the only time you should swear is when you are under oath. Hey-o. Lady says feeling ducky. Absolutely. Daniel says, I think Chef Ramsay is the Antichrist. I love that, Chef Ramsay, man. What a character. He's a weird guy, Chef Ramsay, because he's an international star. And he tells people he's Scottish, but he sounds English because that's not how Scottish people sound. But he's got a good Scottish accent when he puts it on. But that's an English accent he has. I always open my conference papers. Hey, you. Let's talk about some fucking artists. Or yeah, you should. Stephen says, "Hey, buddy, good to see you on here." Yeah, Stephen, that would have been a weird. Hey, buddy. Oh, I see. We're crashing out today. Yeah, I gotta write it out. I reckon Peter and Paul were kind of rough around the edges. Yeah, I reckon so. Dean says, a bit off topic. ASCII if evangelical dispensationalism played a role in bringing about World War One. Quite a revelation. That's a study and a half. 50 plus years ago, the man who told me about Jesus said the problem with our country is the message coming from the pulpits. Boy, was he onto something. Absolutely. Shake stars from the sky, always good to see ya. Yeah, the message from the pulpits is problematic, I will say. There are issues. Has anybody seen this news here? Obviously, there's a lot of talk with America and Israel, which is quite strange because I thought that the United Kingdom had the biggest part in establishing the Jewish state. However, America seems to be, probably just because America's the head of the Anglosphere nation of the Western nations. So Israel goes there, and apparently there's some big think tank that has a lot of political power, political capital in America. But Donald Trump isn't actually that happy with them. Like, I was just kind of looking up that, does Donald Trump even like Netanyahu? And the answer seems to be that he's disappointed in him. He's not too happy with him. So that's going to cause a little bit of controversy, I'm sure, on the topic of controversy. Certainly, there's a lot of people that I admire, good commentators who seem to be unable to criticize Israel. A good example would be Douglas Murray, the British journalist. I think he's very sharp. He's very erudite. However, when it comes to Israel, he was on the Joe Rogan Experience, and all he could do was say, "Look, Joe, you've got a lot of people who just don't know what they're talking about, critiquing Israel, and hey, what's that all about, man?" And I think to myself, no, it's fair. It's genuinely fair. Like, I am from Scotland. I am Scottish. I don't like the Scottish government. right? There's you don't, and if you're American and you've heard about things like the free speech issues in this country, by all means criticize it, you know? And I'm sure there's people in Israel right now who would criticize the regime of Netanyahu. Personally, I'm not invested in it. Personally, I don't mean to be as callous as to say I don't care about the Middle East. I just don't think it's important for me. You know, I live in rural Scotland. I don't have a dog in that fight. I think the people who do have dogs in that fight are futurists who are wondering when this third temple's going to be built or whatever, when this red heifer is going to be sacrificed on the Temple Mount. But personally speaking, I'm just not particularly interested beyond wanting peace. But I don't want to get I don't want to get too into that. As far as I'm concerned, the Jewish state that exists has nothing to do with God insofar as covenant. It is just this country that was established by the British and by Americans after the World War. It's not Old Covenant Israel. It's not New Covenant Israel. It's just covenant less. It's no more uh, it's no more under covenant than Scotland, right? Um, because ultimately we're supposed to respond to God as a individual on a personal dynamic level, as well as a collective bodily sense. We can do that too, but we certainly have that call to move in faith as a mature person. You know, when someone sinned, Paul would cast them out so that Satan could destroy the body, that the soul might survive. You know, Paul didn't cast out the whole church because it was a body, it was just that individual. Well, so too does the individual have a responsibility to maintain relationship with God, maintain their spiritual hygiene. Um, but it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Something else that I'm thinking about. Sorry, guys, I thought I had a newspaper up there and I didn't. Yeah, this one here. That's the news I was looking at. There's another story I want to show you that there's a big comparison here between America and the UK. So, in America, she would be a hero. She would be in the White House receiving a medal. In the UK, she's going to rot in prison for 17 years. She killed someone who was assaulting her. Is that the same as being a murderer? Like a cold-blooded murderer? I don't think so. This is a girl who was troubled, a girl who had been assaulted years prior and lived in fear with PTSD of this ever happening again. Now, in the United Kingdom, it's illegal to carry a weapon, any kind of weapon. It is illegal to carry spicy sauce if your intent is to use it for self-defense. Like, you just can't defend yourself in the United Kingdom other than with with these hands, right? So she was carrying a knife, and that's why she got this life sentence, basically. Now, the thing that really pisses me off about this is you might have heard that the United Kingdom has been overrun by rape gangs in England. There's a bunch of English towns where predominantly Pakistani gangsters have been trafficking children for sexual exploitation, and there's a racial element to it as well. It's always English girls, and people are scared to address it. It looks like the police were involved, local government were involved, as in they were helping traffic the children. And we still don't have a resolution to this. It's still happening. And the government refused to do a national inquiry. So there's one member of parliament who's doing it himself. His name is Rupert Lowe. He's independently wealthy, and he's got a lot of support for having done that. I think it's going to be another. We have a guy called Jimmy Savile. The British Broadcasting Corporation hid all of his crimes, and they were many. So too will the government be embarrassed when Member of Parliament Rupert Lowe finishes his inquiry. But you can see this, right? He's been released after 9 years, whereas the 18-year-old girl who stabbed and killed her rapist, she's not getting out early. She's going to have to serve the whole 17 years. Is that fair? No. And I think it's wildly controversial. We're not finished. We're not finished going through the controversy. So this is the next story. And in England, a Turkish man burnt a Quran, his own property, burnt it, and now he's being sentenced, and his charge is harassing Islam. This happened in the United Kingdom. So, charge against man who burnt Quran, incorrectly worded, CPS admits. The Humanist Society is up in arms about it because it's just blasphemy laws. And all the blasphemy laws in this country are geared towards, there seems to be sensitivity against the accusation of Islamophobia. And so it's very difficult in this country to mount a critique against Islam without going to prison, because it seems like the purpose of the law is to protect Islam from white British people. That seems to be the purpose of the law. It's very dicey waters if you're seen as the oppressor class and you are going to give a negative critique on something that's seen as a racialized issue. Instead of just, why can't we critique religion? Because surely religions are worthy of critique. I mean, we resolved this in this country 40 years ago, but now it's all coming back and we need to discuss, is it okay to criticize religion again? And it seems to be going backwards. Again, controversial. I don't believe people should insult Islam. That's not what I advocate. I know some people do. Dr. David Wood, Act 17 apologetic. He insults Islam. David Wood would be in prison if he was in the United Kingdom. In fact, he's been banned from the United Kingdom because of the way he speaks about Islam. But I don't advocate that. I'm all about peace and bridge making. You know, I love Sufism. Alawite expressions of Islam seem to be beautiful. I think there's a need for reformation within the religion, but it seems to be practiced very well in certain countries, the United Arab Emirates, for example. People often speak highly of Dubai. Indeed, there, Saudi Arabia as well. They police in Qatar. They police Islam a lot better than we do. The United Kingdom currently has 8 terrorist organizations, according to Saudi Arabia, operating legally in the UK. Legally, 8 terrorist organizations operate within this United Kingdom. I find that especially troubling. I find that incredibly problematic. But the United Kingdom is pretty chill about it, apparently. So that's where we are with that. Right. Augustus says he's on board. Good. Dean, there were Christians living in Gaza, but they aren't Christian Zionists. Wonder why that is. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, that whole Middle East situation is just bonkers. And I think Donald Trump is actually going to come out and spit some wisdom. I think he's going to voice his disappointment with the way Israel have been handling things, which would be incredibly controversial. So we'll see how that plays out. But guys, it is incredibly warm. So there's a lot to chew on in this video, and I'll kind of tie it up now. I just wanted to share some controversial things, check in with everyone. As I say, I should hopefully get a new microphone soon. It's going to be so good, guys. I'm going to get a new mic that's not a duck. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be great. You know, other than maybe some cool stuff at the back, make this a professional shoot, right? And yeah, I should get this software. You can see this is powered by StreamYards. I'm going to try and upgrade my StreamYards so that I can have 2 cameras, put my own graphics in, upload preloaded videos so we can discuss the content. I want this to be more topical, more biting, more. Like, I want to do at least, for me, I want to try and see if I can do 3 videos a day. 3 videos a day? Every day, 3 videos a day. No, I want to see if I can do 3 videos a week. One can be topical, one can be scripture, one can be like a hangout. We could do it that way. But I want to also build materials for spiritual trauma. That's another controversy, and I'd be happy for people to leave their suggestions about that too. I was thinking of building a website and materials, and working in concert with some other people to produce things for people, like self-care and spiritual nurturing is a good word for it. Spiritual nurturing for those who have been torn down. I'm struggling to make up sentences today. But those who have been trodden down by the sort of tortured, horrendous spiritual abuse that you can see in many expressions of religion, regardless of sect, regardless of, well, even religion, you know, that those materials would be open to people from Islam, Judaism, Christianity, you know. And I don't know as much about Hinduism and Sikhism, and Jainism, and all the other isms. 3 square videos a day. Yeah, that's right. 3 videos a day. It can be done. They said it could not be done, but it will be done. That's all I've got to say. That's all I've got to say. If I stay on any longer, I'm just going to be dragging it out. But guys, I just wanted to check in. Thank you for joining me on this controversy video. If you've got any thoughts on this, share them below. Did this video work? Did it work or did it not work? I need your feedback, because your feedback helps me to fine-tune this channel. Is there a side of me that you prefer? Do you prefer it if I'm high energy? and dropping F-bombs? Do you prefer it if I'm sober? Is there a way that I'm dressed? Is this a better way to dress on the channel? Give me suggestions for mainstreaming this channel and jumping from 2,000 to 10,000 subscribers. Give me your suggestions. I think maybe more debate, not debates, but maybe more interviews on the channel. Who would you like to see me interview? We've done Don Preston. We've had Shadestone on. I've spoke to William Bell. Is there anybody else? Let me know. Let me know in the comments, and if you think I'll be able to grab their attention. Obviously, not someone like Jordan Peterson. Get Jordan Peterson on the channel. Right, Jordan Peterson interview this next weekend. Next weekend it's Jordan Peterson. The weekend after that, Joe Rogan. I'm going to have Joe Rogan on the channel. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking there's no way you're going to pull that off, guys. Joe Rogan, then Theo Vaughn after that, and then just whoever your favorite person is, we'll have them on too. Right, sounds good. All right, all right. Maybe I'll adjust those goals a little bit. Okay, guys, I'm going to sign off because I'm getting giddy and I need to cool down because it's dangerously warm in Scotland. It's like 70 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, guys. Peace and love. Peace and love. All the best to you. Good to see you, Lady Cymbeline, Dean, Augustus, Shit Stars from the Sky, Stephen, Daniel. Good to see you, Scott. All the best, guys. Take care. Take care. See you next